Just before we talk about this week, what I'm sure you've watched the game back several times. What pleased you most about last week?
Um, well, I just think some of the things we've been working on over the last few weeks, just our control, just our defence is really good at the moment. We conceded a couple of tries down our right edge, but it's probably just Lachlan getting a couple of things wrong, to be honest. Apart from that, I thought we were really solid. So yeah, I thought it was our overall game probably. Um, you know, I think that's something we've been working towards. And I reckon just that we've got a lot of players missing, and it doesn't look like it. I think that's probably the real testimony to the squad that we've built and how everybody's fitted in and does a really good job.
Given the fact there are still a number of players out and high quality players out, how much more is there still to come? The potential within that group, do you feel?
Yeah, a lot, I think. I think, we sort of, when we came into this season, we didn't really know where we were going to be at. We thought we'd had a great pre-season and we thought we'd recruited really well. I don't think we really know the ceiling at the moment. I think we're learning about ourselves as a team every week. And we've got some big challenges coming up for sure. So for us, I think it's just keep enjoying what we're doing and keep growing and getting better. And who knows where it can take us. I think we shouldn't. I've been trying to sort of instill how good I think that this team can be into the boys, and I think they're starting to believe it themselves a little bit. But we're not getting carried away. I think that's the important thing for us is don't get complacent in any way. We've generally, whenever we've played, we've been super competitive and in tight games, and been really difficult to beat. And I think we want to keep that. We want to make sure every single week we turn up and we've got a great attitude. And then who knows, anything can happen, really, I think.
And what's happening on the field is really mirroring what's been happening throughout the season off the field as well. And it's probably hard to say tangibly, but do you get a sense that the improved facilities and everything there has had an effect on what you've been able to do?
Yeah, I think so. When I first came, we talked about making sure that the players were looked after, and that's a great starting point, I think. And obviously, from Matt's perspective, making sure that the fans are looked after, which I think, it's great when you look around the facilities now, they're completely changed. They're, constantly evolving. But yeah, it makes a big difference when you look around and the place feels really good, and I think that does for the players. It feels really good. They're getting looked after. Fans are they're great. They're really getting behind us. They feel like there's something special sort of brewing at the club, and all this creates a vibe that people want to be involved in. And week to week, we're showing that we're a genuine team and club, and that's something for us all to be proud of, whilst also acknowledging that we've got a lot of work to do and we want to continue to evolve and get better, and we're going to get challenged massively. And yeah, I think it's great to see how good we can actually be, and just around the corner, some big games. Obviously, this is a different challenge this week against Salford. Um, but I think for us, is just dealing with whatever's thrown at us is a key part of our learning process.
We won't see your squad until tomorrow. Are you pondering potential changes?
Yeah, probably a couple in there. We had a couple of boys that have done huge minutes, so I might make a couple of changes. We're still going through that at the moment, so yeah, there may be a few, but not massive. I think this is an important game for us. I think it's important for consistency of performance. Really, I think I don't want to get away from that. I think that's key that we stay consistent and keep building. I think it's important that we stay motivated. I'm not saying any team's not going to be motivated against Salford. They're going through a tough time at the moment. It's not great to see, but I think it's important that we don't expect anything to do the job for us. You've got to do it yourselves, and I think we're ready to do that.
Just before we touch a bit more on Salford, just talk to me a bit about Caius Fartilli, four tries in two games. You obviously knew that was within him, otherwise you wouldn't have brought him into the group. But has he hit the ground, a little bit harder than you thought he might have done by this point in time?
Yeah, but I think it took him a while, he was playing sort of 10 minutes a game for a period there. I just thought it took him a while to get tuned in physically. He came and he wasn't in terrible nick, but I don't think he was in his best shape either. And he's worked pretty hard, and he's in a good place, I think, physically. And then he's got an opportunity to start, which we've got a lot of injuries, so that's sort of not forced my hand, but it's allowed me to put him in there and give him a sort of a bigger opportunity in terms of how long he's out on the field. And he's the one thing we saw when we looked at him. Obviously, we do a lot of work on data and getting different bits of feedback on character and all that. But when you watch him, when we watched him play, he was pretty explosive, and he did some things with the ball that you kind of don't. There's not many sort of middle unit players who do some of those things. And he's got a real instinct to get over the try line. I think he scored 8 in 22 games last year in Australia. So he scores tries. I mean, he finds himself in some great positions. So yeah, in terms of try scoring, he's done better than I thought he would. In terms of his game, I think it was what we saw really when we watched him in Australia. And I don't think I think he's taken him a little bit of time, and he looks like he's in a really good place at the moment.
Is there an extended deal being wafted under his nose?
Well, yeah, it's something that we've been discussing. So yeah, I think he's certainly had an impact. Oh, the fans love him, so I don't see any reason why that won't happen. I mean, we'll wait and see over the coming weeks where that goes.
It depends also on the player. Is he happy? Is he enjoying himself over here?
Well, looks it. Yeah, he looks all right. So yeah, look, he he's good. He's always smiling. He don't say hundreds of words, but he looks in a pretty good place.
It does look like he's having fun. Just going back to Salford, then, do you have a bit of sympathy for what they're going through? I mean, they've lost so many players, and there's so many coaches and support staff and players that have stuck by the club, and I'm sure are having problems week in week out. But do you have a great deal of sympathy for what's happened to them?
Oh yeah, look, nobody wants to see. Well, first of all, a club, being under so much pressure, and then obviously, individual players. It's really difficult because it's your living, isn't it? That's really hard. That and not nobody wants to see that. I went through it myself a little bit at Keighley a fair few years ago now, and I ended up going to Leeds, and so there's sometimes things change quickly, and there's a bit of a silver lining there. But yeah, there'd be a fair bit of angst amongst a few of the boys there, which is never good to see. And they've lost a lot of high quality players. So, but I watched them play last week. I thought they played pretty well with the ball last week. They're really challenging, and they've still got some high quality players in there that can cause you a lot of trouble. So. I think for us is not to get so we can't do anything about that. We all feel for individual players and the club itself. So that's not great. I hope there's a positive outcome to that. But for us, we've just got to look after what we're doing really.
And like you say, it's a test of your attitude more than anything else. If you come through this in the right way, will it tell you a little bit more about your team in that respect? Because this is the first time you've probably been in this situation this year.
Yeah, we're finding different situations every week, and we're handling them pretty well. I think. This is like I said, another challenge for us. So we've trained pretty well today. We look like we're in a good frame of mind. The spirit amongst the boys is class. They know. I mean, I've been around a fair while and been in a few situations, so I think they know that they'll get the right sort of information from all the coaches, from Shenny and Kermo and everybody really. So yeah, look, there's no reason why we should be dropping off in our attitude and our intent. Don't think there's anything any time in rugby league that you can afford for that to happen. Otherwise, you always get undone. 100% you do.
Just lastly for me, Jay Pitts, if he plays, will make his 150th Wakefield appearance over two spells, of course. Just to praise his value, really, to the group.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal. You sort of you watch players from afar most of the time, and then when you play against them, obviously you critique the game, and Pixie's been around a fair bit. All the boys are give him a fair bit of stick about how old he is and all that, which is a bit of decent banter. But when you actually work with somebody, you get to see the sort of value firsthand. You know, how fit he is, how great he is as a leader, how he upholds standards, how hard he works on the field, how good a rugby league player he is. I think as a 13. The British 13s are different for me. I think he's iconic, the number 13 in rugby league, and he's outstanding. And all the coaching staff talk about him all the time, just how durable and tough, and just how much of a great bloke to have around he is. So yeah, I think it's a decent endorsement that of what everybody thinks of him here.
All very well covered by JD. Just a quick one on Jake Truman. Apologies if I missed it last weekend. Was he just being managed against Warrington?
Yeah, look, he's still got this ongoing back issue that he's had some treatment. I think he's had a couple of jabs in his back this week. So last week. Yeah, we're hoping that's going to resolve pretty soon. But I haven't got any news on that at the moment. He won't play this week, and then hopefully he'll be in and around it. We've got Leeds, and then obviously there's the Challenge Cup. So we'll see how he comes through that sort of period.
Are the long-term fears about him because he has been struggling with his back on and off, hasn't he?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's just something that's reared its head, and we're hopeful that this treatment's gonna fix it up.
In terms of your side this season, in terms of your league position, it's no fluke. You're the sixth best defence in the league. You're the fourth best attack. That was helped by Warrington on two occasions, and I'm sure you must have enjoyed that. In terms of those two stats in particular, that's playoff form. You've already said about the potential of this side. At what point do we start believing that Wakefield can get a top six place this year?
Oh, well, we're in there now, aren't we? I mean, we're a decent chunk of way into the season. A lot of water to go under the bridge, so I don't know. I just think we're capable of doing it. You need a bit of luck, and injuries is, it would be handy if we could sort of trim that down a little bit. But look, that is what it is. There's not much we can do about that. Well, I think we're capable. I really do. I think we've shown that. I was showing the boys a stat this morning. We've missed the least tackles in Super League. We made the second most and missed the least. So, I think that says a lot about the team, probably as much as anything else, to be honest. Yeah, I think we're in a good spot at the moment. A lot of water to go under the bridge, but we feel like we're capable. But we're going to need to be outstanding. I think that's certainly true. And I mean, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. I think people are starting to believe in us a little bit. I think the boys are starting to believe a lot more, and people watching us play now, seeing that we're a genuine Super League team, which for a team that gets promoted, I think it's been a fair achievement so far. But like I say, we're not getting carried away.
Yeah, I mean, you're playing a really nice brand of rugby as well. It's got to be said. JD asked you about the mentality of the players going into Salford, and you've already said statistically Salford were right in that game at the weekend. It was the execution of Castleford really that did them. Castleford were very good in attacking phases. From a coaching perspective, how hard is it when you're expected to win, which you are this weekend, versus a game like a Wigan or a Saints where, focus and mentality probably takes care of itself a little bit. From a coaching perspective, could you give us an insight on how you make sure the lads don't take this for granted?
Well, I think obviously, there's different ways you communicate with your team. You show video stuff, different stats. I mean, Salford ran for more meters than Cass by a significant amount last week. So, that in itself tells a story. I mean, I showed the boys some footage this morning where, they've torn Castleford apart on numerous occasions, and they've got a couple of players there, Masters and McDonald, who, are super talented. Obviously, Nick Ream potentially misses this week because he's another one. And then you've got Brayley with pace. I think particularly on the edges, super, super threatening. So I think just showing the boys that just tells its own story, to be honest. I think that will have done enough because there's, like I say, they really challenged last week, and we've sort of replicated some of that in practice this morning. And we know we're going to need to defend well. So I look, I still think that they're dangerous, and you go in thinking anything else, and you get rattled because they really come after you on edges. They come and they shut things down and they put you under pressure. They've been doing this for, it's part of Paul Rowley's coaching style that they come after you defensively on edges. So for us, realise what you're up against, and they're combative, they're competitive. And if you don't play well, then there's a chance of getting you, and we fully aware of that.
And finally, for me, Darryl, the coaching pool is a tight and a small unit of men. Really, I'm delighted for you in terms of your British coaches. We need to celebrate them, and I'm delighted for you in terms of what you've achieved at Wakefield this last couple of years. A quick word on Steve Mack and what he's achieved in France for French Rugby League. Obviously, not been confirmed by the club, but I think we all know that Steve is leaving Catalan. Would you like to pay tribute to the great job that he's done and the impact he's had on French Rugby League?
Yeah, I tell you the best thing, one of the best things I could say about Steve. So he's a champion fella and coach. Is that he's really challenged himself. With his going to Australia and coaching out there. The international coach is always a challenging job, and then to go to France. That with the language barrier and all that, they're all challenging things to do, and I think he's. Some people are scared to put themselves into difficult situations, and he's certainly not. And I think he's gone, and wherever he's been, he's done a fantastic job. To go to France and do what he's done, the league leaders, grand final appearances, won the Challenge Cup. But he's done an immense job there, and I think everybody recognised that. It'd be nice if the Catalan club came out and said it. To be fair, but yeah, look. This is a tough job. This people don't realise until you actually do it. It's constantly challenging, and it's been amazing for French Rugby League and for Catalan. So yeah, I've texted him myself because obviously I know Steve pretty well. Played in the same international team as him years ago. So yeah, he's been unbelievable in his career in France.